Hello everyone, Zox here, and as you guys know, BLOODCRAFT has an entirely new archetype being pushed for it for the Resurgent Legends mini expansion. And well, I really want to take a little quick analysis and try to figure out how this deck will work before the expansion releases. So, what is the new archetype? Basically, it's something akin to Handless, but this time, you are going deckless. The main goal of this archetype is to destroy your deck to get your deck size to under 10 cards or less, and then most of your cards will be becomes hyper powered, will become stronger in a lot of ways. For example, the first legendary I'm looking here gets +4/+4, and you recover at 1 evolve point once you hit 10 cards or less. And yeah, all of them, we'll go over each of them soon. So currently, from what I see, there's around 7 cards that have this that banishes cards from your deck. So most of them will, and only 6 of them will banish a copy from your hand and put 1 into your deck. And the main win condition right now that I can see, and the core engine that's driving this deck, is actually Milnard Demon Butcher, obviously. So what Milnard does is that during your turn, if this card is banished from your deck, you will summon 1 copy of this and it will return to your hand. So basically, this is a free resource if you banish it. And what I expect this deck to do is that you would banish this from your deck, and then once this is in your hand, you shuffle it back with all the other cards that have this banish to that have this second line of text. Banish a card from your hand and put a copy of it into your deck. That's how you keep this card into your deck at all times, since this has a really strong payoff that when you draw it, when you have 10 or less cards in your deck, you can change this card's cost to 2, and this card gets +3/+1, making this a 7/6 storm drain for 2 mana. Drawing 3 of these once you have 10 or less cards, which is really highly likely, you are more than likely to win the game on either turn 6, turn 7, or even, actually probably not turn 6, you're not going to get 10 cards or less in your deck by turn 6, but you can expect to win on turn 7 or turn 8. But then again, we need to see how often is it that you get to 10 or less cards in your deck, in which case we'll do some math right now. So first off, we need to take a look at what are the cards that actually help thin our decks that are from this archetype. So we have one of them, which is a banish 2. Then Milna doesn't banish any. Lawful Evil banishes another 2, so that's 2 right now. Sanguine Knight is a banish -3. She banishes 2 cards from your deck, gets 1 into your deck, and draw 2 cards. So basically, you get 3 cards out of your deck. So this is one of those that's -3. And so is Waterwing Demon, drawing you 1 if you have 20 or less cards in your deck. So I'm going to set this as a -3 for now. Then we have Buller, a Child of Evil, which is a banish 2. Crimson Talon Strike, which draws 2 cards, so it is a -2 from your deck. House Heartbreaker, which is also a banish 2. And lastly, we have Warp Fusion, which is another banish 2. So this is 6 cards that come from this archetype that thins your deck by banishing 2. And two of them will additionally draw an additional card. Then including Milnard, which will have 9 cards that is introduced to this archetype from this expansion. And with that, let's start on the math. So here I have with MS being painted up. So first things first, we notice there's only 9 cards from the archetype that I mentioned. So there will be currently there's only 27 cards that are in this archetype. 27 cards means you have to have 13 other cards from other archetypes that you're gonna have to put in as filler, preferably either cards that draw or either cards that help you close out the game, because apparently there might be some difficulty in closing out the game, especially relying only on Melna, although there are other cards that have Storm. So but first, let's see how easy is it to reach the 10 cards left in deck condition. So obviously, let's start with the first step. If you're going first, you're going to start with 3 cards in hand. 3 cards in hand and 37 cards in deck. Then for each turn you play the game, you will draw 1. So assuming that you're going to stick with turn 7 as our baseline, you will have 30 cards in your hand, in your deck by turn 7 if you do nothing. So yeah, which is 37 minus 7 if you didn't realize. So if by following this logic, you need to banish at least 20 cards from your deck before turn 7. Because ideally, you will want to pop off by turn 7. So to banish 20 cards, you need to play either 10 of the cards that banish to, which currently we have 6 of that. I'm pretty sure I counted 6 of them, which are negative 2s. Those of which will thin your deck by quite a number, of course. And there's around 18 of them in your deck, so having at least a few of them in your hand is really likely. Or if you play 2 of those negative 3s, you will only need to play 8 cards. 8 cards, most of them are pretty cheap. I saw Lawful Evil, which is at 3 mana. So if you have 6 turns, you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 15, 21 mana to work with. 21 mana to banish around 20 cards from your deck. Or so if you're going to play 10 of these, I think it's quite likely if we take a look at the deck's cards again, I'm going to pull them up once more. Milnut, the Vampire Liberator, is a 1 mana card, so he's really cheap. If you get him in your opening hand, it will probably be really good for you. Lawful Evil is a little bit more on the expensive side, but if working with 21 mana, you can play around 7 of these, which is not ideal, but since you can only play 3 copies of these, it's not that bad. Assuming if you draw all 3, then you still have 3, 9, 20. What's 21 minus 9? 12 mana to work with. 12 mana, if most of the other cards are 2 mana or less, you still have 6 cards, which are basically almost there. Sanguine Knight is 2 mana, which is quite cheap for this effect. Water Wing is unfortunately a 3 mana card. But this one is a 3 mana card which you need to take care of, so this one is not ideal to use this to thin your deck. But most of the other banished card effects are 2 mana or less. Warp Fusion being 2 mana, yeah, so on and so forth. So it's quite likely that you're gonna hit this condition before turn 7. Turn 7, you're gonna hit like 10 cards in your head before turn 7. 20 cards, you just need to play like what? 10 if all of them are 2 mana cards, which you see majority of them are. You can actually just be spending them under 21 mana is quite possible and likely. Then if you're going second, it will be even easier. You start off with 3 cards in your hand, and then you draw 2 immediately, giving you a little bit more leeway and a potential to pop off on turn 4. Wait, so let me just draw it out. How do I clear MS Paint quickly? I don't even know, but I'll just clear this out. If you're going second, you start off with 3 cards in your hand. You draw 2 cards on your first turn, and then for the next, I'm going to try to see if you can pop off on turn 6 here. So if you're trying to pop off with turn 6, you have only 15 mana to work with. 15 mana to get rid of. Okay, 15 mana, turn 6. Turn 6, you have like 6 extra cards you draw 6 extra cards. So it's also 9 cards is it 9 cards? 11, 29. So you have 29 cards in deck by turn 6. Did I count right? First turn, I counted the first turn already. 6 plus 1, 7, 3. No, you still have 30 cards in there by the start of turn 6. I'm wrong. Okay, if you have 30 cards, so you have 15 mana to banish 20 cards, which is significantly harder. Another scenario where going second hurts a lot more than going first. I believe you really want to go first with this deck. Let's see. If you're going second, if you're hitting 30 cards, you have 15 mana to banish 20 cards, which, looking at the cost of the cards, is really, really difficult. So more often than not, if you're going second, you are going to have a very difficult time piloting this deck. Since if most of your opponents are winning by turn 7, and you can only go on turn 7, you're going to be at a disadvantage. So I'm going to expect to see that the win rate for this deck will be very, very tilted towards going first or second. If you're going first, you might have a very enjoyable time playing the deck. If you're going second, it will be a lot more difficult. Then let's take a look at how the deck will win the game. I'm just gonna erase this, putting back up the research, the cards. So we have some storm damages. This is a storm, which is a 5/3 storm for 2 mana. And I'm not sure if Bullet is no, Bullet is a defensive card. She doesn't help you. She does storm face. This one is a mid game control card. Even though he has storm, you could go face for only 2 or 4 damage. It's slightly weaker. And then this Lawful Evil is more of a defensive card. Doesn't need to be put into your hand from your deck. So if you're holding this for turn 7, it will be really helpful for you. Or end of turn, let me see. End of turn. Ideally, if you have played at least 1 -3 on turn 6, and then you'll play Lawful Evil on turn 6 to help you survive to turn 7. Then Myrna, which is the card that you always want to banish from your deck, then you always throw it back into your deck with the banish a card from your hand effect. Doing this and hoping to draw this on turn 7 alongside the other one, which is Hell's Heartbreaker. Both of these can be 7 damage storms if this one requiring an evolve point, which is 14 damage. You just need another one to hit lethal. But other than that, those are the only 2 win conditions in this deck. Muna always being thrown into your deck, it being drained is huge, considering that it could help keep you alive. Unfortunately, Hell's Hearttaker does not have drain. It is purely a storm follower. As you can tell, as you seen from my MS Paint amazing analysis, you do not have mana to spare to play this for the 5 mana effect. If you are gonna play this for the 5 mana effect, you are in a very bad spot. Playing a 5 mana 4/5 Storm Drain could be good, but this does not interact with your opponent's board. So if they have a white board, you are screwed. 100%. So always use this as a card to banish from your hand as hand resource. Using it as a way to draw cards from this second statement that most of these cards have. So that's what I'm seeing right now. Sorry, my throat's a little sore today. Then what else do we have? This one's a turn 6 play. I mentioned this already. Sanguine Knight is probably a must keep, giving it draw 2 cards. So now my biggest issue is what happens if you start banishing cards that actually help advances your win condition. Cards like Vampire Liberator, which you would love to have, or Lawful Evil, or Water Wind, or all these cards that you would rather have in your hand instead. Considering the density of cards in the deck, I'm going to pull up MS Paint once again. Right now, we have 13 cards right here that does not thin your deck. Yet. They could be draw cards like Wolf, like the Violin Wolf, whatever. They could be an alternate way to finish the game. As you can tell, we have Vampire Liberator, which is a 5/5 going turn 7/7, which cannot go face. But if we add in the Vengeance package, like Vulgus, it could give it Storm. So that's just a thing to consider. But if that's the case, right, then these 13 cards, right, will be something that will be really critical to this deck. You want to use cards that want to thin the deck, like Kyrie, more likely Asuka and Shiori, which is a 3 mana draw 2. I'm not sure if there's any card that could help thin your deck even faster than either Kyrie or Asuka and Shiori, noting that Kyrie actually requires evolve points, and so does Asuka and Shiori. So maybe you want to be more evolve point conscious, keeping it high so that you can actually get those deck thinning effects for basically cheap. And then not only that, you also want to at least hope to draw at least 3 Murnas on turn 7. Which means that you need to have a 1 mana draw 2. Because taking into account your start of turn draw, you will draw 3 cards. If you draw 3 Myrna on turn 7, you win the game on the spot if your opponent doesn't have a ward. Which actually, now that I think of it, they are more than likely to have. I'm already considering this deck only from the point of view of you playing the deck. And your opponent could do a lot of things to disrupt you. So overall, looking at the deck, it looks to be a more of a mid-range control combo finisher seems quite weak right now in my opinion, with the disparity of going first or second being very huge. Which, you know, I should probably swap back instead of staring at this blank MS3 screen. I'll just finish the ending for this video here. So as you can tell, currently, as I was saying, this looks like another variant of loot with another quest. You have the chance of banishing all of your key cards, which could either be detrimental, but then you have also 13 extra cards to work with, and you also have a high density of these banished cards. But I think this needs a little bit more banish to make sure this is a little bit more consistent. Because who's to know that you banish all of your important deck thinning cards, and all you're left with is cards that don't help you thin the deck. Who knows, to be certain. But I can tell that this deck is more you're aiming to win with this deck on turn 7. You're not like, if you can win on turn 6, it'll be nicer, but it's unlikely. You also have to account for ward, which I think some of the decks out there are being more ward focused, more defensive focused. So this deck might actually suffer a lot. I don't expect this to do extremely well on day 1 or even anytime soon, until they add some adjustments to this deck. So yeah, I could be totally wrong. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And yes, that is my analysis for Deckless BLOODCRAFT.